All right. We are here presenting the Preakness post draw, the best jewel of the Triple Crown as a Maryland native. How are you doing today, Keith?
Oh, I'm doing great, Jessica. I look forward to talking, the second jewel of the Triple Crown here with you, the Preakness Stakes, and yeah, it's shaped out to be a very competitive field. So I look forward to talking about each horse, and of course, this post draw that's about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We won't be able to show the post draw, but we'll
A
keep
couple
you
of minutes here.
updated
Yeah.
with everything. It starts in about 10 minutes. We got here to until we start getting some horse names. Hopefully, they go the way they did with the Derby draw, where they didn't
That was
really dilly
nice.
dally with that, which was definitely nice.
Yeah, I was expecting, I think it was the Breeders' Cup, some of these big races they kind of draw it out with a even with an intermission, but this was the Derby was in between races, so I guess they were kind of forced
Well,
to
let's get
pick
it.
it
Yeah.
up, which we all love. Yeah.
Yeah. We the pageantry is fun, but we've got plenty of time on race days for that with all the time between races.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And a lot of us just want to we just want to know the results like of this post draw and
Exactly.
then
Yeah,
talk about it. So, yeah, it's going to be a
exactly.
lot of
Give me
fun.
give me the past performances. Let's get going. Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's yeah, we talked about that off camera. It's like, it's a Monday evening now. So now we don't know if like maybe the early PPs will drop tonight and then kind of like tomorrow will be the official. So kind of
yeah,
get right to work
fingers
right away.
crossed. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hoping to record tomorrow with my preliminary thoughts on the Preakness. Do you have any way you're leaning at this point in time?
It's kind of I was kind of thrown a loop a little bit with this Catching Freedom news that came out. I'm a big Catching Freedom fan and I did not expect. I know that the owners kind of hinted at the van ride to Baltimore, but I didn't really think it was in the cards. I think the horse really came out of the race really well, better than expected, and he's training so well. So I think Brad Cox said it kind of deserves this shot. So I'm gonna look at the field and look at the post draw. I mean, there are a few horses I've kind of already kind of faded on that end, but I kind of want to dissect each with the post draw, and then I'll kind of come to a conclusion. Then, what about you, Jessica?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you that the Catching Freedom news definitely kind of put a little wrench into what I had been thinking because I was kind of thinking it's Muth and Mystik Dan probably. Um, Tuscan Gold is a little bit interesting for sure,
Yep, for sure.
and I'm gonna be rooting for Mugatu, but I don't actually think he is a win contender. It's a horse I'd
Yeah,
love to see him run well. I think he'll pick up a check running fourth or fifth in there, which
right.
is just what he's made a career out of doing. So, but I think we're kind of looking at a race that's going to end up being pretty formful, but should be pretty exciting. And if you have a strong opinion, I think that with Catching Freedom and Mystik Dan both going, Muth isn't going to be, odds on or anything. He's not going to be too short.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it actually makes it a better betting race that Catching Freedom's gonna there. And yeah, you bring up some good points. I mean, Tuscan Gold is an interesting horse to me. It seems like Chad Brown kind of had this path for this horse. This was like the
Mhm.
alternate to Sierra Leone's going to go to the Belmont. So this horse has already raced at this distance that was the same distance the Louisiana Derby, and finished third there. So one race at this distance under the belt in very lightly race. So I'm definitely intrigued. I want to see what the morning line is too on Tuscan
Mhm.
Gold. I'm intrigued by
Yeah.
that. So, and the post draw, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Ronnie thinks that Muth just absolutely smokes this field. So, easy win bet at 5 to 2, 9 to 5. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
you might
I
actually get
mean,
a better price now. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And he's definitely, I think he's the most likely winner. I want to look at the form because a lot of times that's just how, I can best visualize the race is when I have everything in front of me. But going in at this point, he does look tough, but I don't think he's invincible.
No, I agree with you. This wasn't the original Baffert horse that was supposed to be here. It was supposed to be Nisos, and he
Mhm.
had a setback. I was going to look up to see how he's doing, but Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this was the original plan. Maybe it was going to be Nisos and Muth, but I mean, you got to obviously consider this horse strongly. I do agree. Think that there's some other horses here, a couple other horses that intrigue me. Even the other bad Bob Baffert horse, Imagination.
Yeah, yeah, he's quite a little bit interesting there, especially with how well Stronghold ran in the Derby.
Right.
And as Sean points out here,
There he
he was
is.
dominant, but just still ended up finishing 17th in the Derby. And that was who he beat in Arkansas. So, how good was that field? That is a question. Just Steel was, of course, very close to that quick pace. But
And you
that
knew
was a
Just
good
Steel
point.
was going to run in this regardless, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the coach is he's got two in here. Yeah, I picked Seize the Gray as the winner the last race, but to me, doesn't really, from a class perspective, doesn't really match up with these horses. And
Mhm.
yeah, I got to see the post draw too, but he was actually one of my early tosses, even though I had him last race, but just didn't like him against these kind of better horses.
Yeah, definitely a little bit problematic. Rodney pointing out Tuscan Gold and Imagination are kind of the two upside horses here.
Right.
Tuscan Gold reminds me a little bit of um, Blazing Sevens, who Chad
That's
Rout
the horse. Yep.
brought in here last year. His horses like Early Voting, who won the Preakness, who I believe was Chad Brown. I
Yeah,
am,
he was.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was Chad Brown. Okay, just making sure. I was like, I think he was.
That's
Tuscan
actually a
Gold kind of
great point
seems
you
like
bring up,
he's
Jessica.
in that
Yeah.
mold. Chad Brown is good at winning this race. And that's what really has me curious about Tuscan Gold
Really
is
the last few years. Great point. No, this is like the Chad angle of going to the Preakness with a horse that's kind of under the radar a little bit and just can kind of really run well. I mean, we saw Blazing Sevens. That was the horse I couldn't remember his name. I gotta see if he's running still right now, but that was a great race last year with National Treasure, just head bob at the end. So yeah, we had a great Kentucky Derby finish, so we could even get maybe we'll get another three horse photo.
right. And Blazing Sevens did just come back on
Oh.
the last month on the 20th. He came back in an allowance race and won. Um,
Oh, 1? Oh, good.
yeah, he won by a length. It was, good effort. Definitely something to build on. That
Right
wasn't their
off the
goal.
playoff. Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, interesting horse as a 4-year-old now, so we'll see
Hmm.
where that horse goes, and yeah, I just thought it was an interesting field, more depth than I thought originally when the entries were coming out. I mean, yeah, you got the Derby winner, which is always kinda 50-50 at this point, if the Derby winner is gonna be there. And then, yeah, you got the 4th place finisher in Catching Freedom. That was the news that just dropped. And then, yeah, you got all the top trainers. I mean, it's a classic race. It's one of the classics. So they're not going to pass up with this purse and everything. So, and the owners always push for it too. So,
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Steven says move at 3 to 2 or better clean out your bank account because Christmas is coming early.
sounds like
And I
El
think we'll get
Hombre.
3 to
Yeah.
2 with, at least with the field assembled. I think Mystik Dan and Catching Freedom are gonna take good money, and I think Tuscan Gold's probably gonna get a little bit of play too, with Imagination. And I think Rodney has a good point, haven't looked at the race to have full opinions yet, but I do think it's kind of looking like you either have to take a stand and say, "Hey, Muth is my horse. Muth is going to
Right.
win this race," or you have to go 3, 4 deep at least.
Yeah. No, I agree. If you start boxing horses like Muth and then the second and the third choice, I mean, it's especially with exactas and, it's going to be tough to kind of make money at that point. So, got to
Mhm.
take a stand as a horse player, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to post draw. I was having, if Muth draws like the rail, for example, I mean, does that kind of change the betting aspect a little bit? So, I think the post draw, comes into play. Obviously, a lot, fewer horses compared to the Derby, but it's still important.
Yeah, definitely, and I'll admit I'm not as familiar with the running style of some of these horses, like Uncle Heavy, just not as haven't been able to really look at them yet, but, so I think that'll be interesting to take a look afterwards once we can, see the post position and see how things work out and, what kind of scenario how we
It
expect this
says,
race to play out.
yeah. Yeah, 5:30. So, I mean, I'm sure momentarily we probably see somebody, on the platform giving us an introduction. So, very exciting.
Yeah, it looks like they're showing the intro here right
Nice.
now. So hopefully we'll get right into it here.
Keep on
Take a
hitting the
look.
live button just to make sure I'm live on it.
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah, you got Harlow's gonna be there performing live. So yeah, he's actually I think he's a big horse racing fan too. So that's good for
Oh
the
yeah, that's
sport.
awesome. Yeah, definitely. Having someone who can promote the race along with the concert.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, get that other audience, get a bigger audience for horse racing. So I mean, what were your thoughts on the Kentucky Derby drew the highest rating since 1989?
Right.
Maybe it
Yeah,
was something to
no.
do with the 150 or something. I was trying to think why.
Could
Yeah,
be.
it's
Yeah, I
interesting.
have no idea what about it had people coming in, but who knows? Maybe those celebrity appearances that had Twitter ablaze earlier in the year had people
That's right.
checking in.
Very cool.
Mm,
Oh, we got
let's see.
Brittany Urton on the stage now and giving an introduction.
And I did just see something saying that it starts in 9.5 minutes. So I
Yeah, I
guess
saw
that
that flash. I don't know if they wanted us to see that. So
right.
that's
I was
funny.
like, is that are they gonna have 10 minutes of preamble as well? Or was that a mistake? Is the
Yeah,
question.
that really flashed for like 2 seconds.
It was
Yeah, I saw it
very
too.
quick, so I'm not sure if that was intentional or just
That might have been
a
from before or something. Yeah, I don't know.
mhm,
We'll see. Yeah, just starting
yeah.
here. Maryland racing. Yep.
Yeah, and Ronnie pointing out, "Muth and Imagination are better than National Treasure at this stage coming into the Preakness," which,
Yeah.
yeah, Muth for certain, I think,
I
is
know
much more
Jessica's
highly
not a
regarded.
huge National Treasure fan, so that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I did not ever think very highly of National Treasure, so I figured, that, yeah, Muth for sure, definitely, I think, has better credentials coming into this race. He
Coming in fresh. Yeah.
hasn't done a whole lot wrong. Yeah, coming in fresh, like you said, which I think, yeah, will give him an edge over horses like Mystik Dan and Catching Freedom coming out of the Derby. Especially, I mean, the big question with Mystik Dan is that turnaround, as his one bad race
Right.
earlier in his career came on that short rest, which is where they weren't sure. And apparently, he's doing well and he's coming out with good energy. But
Yeah, he shipped
it's
well. I
definitely
know it's a pretty close ship, but yeah, no, that's important. I was actually watching the videos every day of Kenny McPeak giving an update. It was really cool, because the first night after he raced after the Derby, he ate half of his food. So it was like he's got to eat up a little bit more. And then he ate the next
mhm.
day. So and he just moved forward past every test. And one of the things where they say, this horse has earned this spot, so to have a chance. It's really cool. I mean, like I was saying before, it's not guaranteed. I mean, we saw it with Rich Strike that they don't run in the Preakness. So
Mhm.
it's cool what you have that on the line too. I mean, if Mystic Dan could ever pull this off, that's going to be huge for everything for the ratings.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and with the Belmont at Saratoga, it'll be very interesting. He won't have to get that mile and a half, which, I was pretty against him going into the Derby because of the
Right.
distance, and he proved me wrong. But, I think even the connections of Mystic Dan would say that, a mile and a half probably would be a little bit stretching it. So I think that the fact that the Belmont is at a mile and a quarter makes things very interesting, for Mystic Dan.
For sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to even like, if he can get some kind of inside post draw. It seems like he does very well with that inside and Brian Hernandez. I mean, that was such a roll of the dice there against the rail right there. It was unbelievable. So
That was one of those moves, just like, Wrist Strike or Mind That Bird type moves,
yeah.
just skimming the rail in the Derby.
Yeah, it's that kind of you got to take a big chance like that. And yeah, I just thought, oh, this is like the Southwest Stakes all over again. I was like, is this horse really going to win? And then he held on. When I saw it live, I felt like Mystic Dan did win, and then it was the shutter cam was so close, but
Yeah.
what a race!
Yeah, I was I had no idea who won at the first look. Sean
So
says
there,
that Torpedo Anna would be 4-5 in this race. I don't know about that, but she would fit.
she would definitely get bet. Yeah,
She would fit.
there was some talk of that too. Yeah.
I think that was pre Mystik Dan winning the Derby. They were thinking
Oh,
they
okay.
might be
Good
able
point.
to wheel
Good point.
back, but why run them
Imagine
both
they went
here?
against each other. They actually
Yeah.
trained with each other in the morning, and
hmm
she really pushed them to the limit. That's what Kenny said. So she's really talented.
Oh
So
yeah, she's
look
very
forward to
legit.
her future.
Definitely. Last I heard, they were targeting the 3-year-old filly races at Saratoga this summer with her. So I think that'll be fun to see her in races like the Coaching Club American Oaks.
Wow.
So, and then
Yeah, it's
maybe,
gonna
I
be
mean,
stacked.
they've said kind of her whole career that he thinks she's good enough to face the boys. So I'd love to see her in a race, something like the Pennsylvania Derby, maybe.
Ooh,
Right?
nice. Because I'm actually planning on going to that. So that would be really cool. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
like
such
I
a
have
fun time.
no idea for sure, but that's kind of my I wonder if that's a race on their radar for her.
Yeah,
We've got
nice
a
prep for, probably Breeders' Cup weekend at that point. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, you figure they target the distaff, but they might be able to sneak in something something against the boys somewhere in there.
Yeah, we saw what was it, like Hoosier Philly, remember? She was like actually getting bet in the derby pools and everything. It was
Mhm.
kind of I was like, wow. And then, she had a couple of bad races and then came back and did well. I remember she wired the field at Ellis. I think she actually, yeah, she just won a race recently at Oaklawn. So I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to her racing season too.
Yeah, definitely. Some very nice fillies and mares. I think they're kind of more exciting right now than the Colts
Yeah, especially
in the
yeah,
older
older
division.
division. Right.
Horses
So
like
yeah,
Idiomatic.
right. Yeah. Then what was the horse? Gotta look up this horse that was impressive to me at Keeneland recently. Or, I'm sorry, at Churchill. I'll have to look this horse up. But yeah, there's a couple of older males that are intriguing, but I agree. I think the female, the mare division, it looks very strong.
Mhm. Yeah, we've got the return of Disarm soon, which is
Oh,
very
cool.
exciting. I've since before that last year's Derby, I was like, I want to see this horse at 4.
Oh
So,
yeah, I remember you talking about that. The older, gun runner at 4 years old for sure.
mhm. Looks like we might be getting close
All
to
right, I think I'm live on
a
it. Yeah.
draw now. Yeah, I keep checking. I'm like, I keep getting kicked back from live, making sure
Yeah,
that
I was
I'm
like, I can't go any more live than their YouTube stream, right?
right. Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. This is cool. I mean,
Yeah. Thanks so much
it's
for
exciting. Yeah. Yeah, if one of the
definitely.
favorites draw the rail or the 8 or the 9 posts, it's people are going to
It's a
be
little
talking about it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that in a 9-horse field in this race, I really don't think the post position draw
Right.
it's not nearly as important as a race like the Derby. But I do think that, if Mystic Dan draws outside, that's not ideal for him as an example of something that would be a little bit, not necessarily something he can't overcome, but something that would not be what he really wants to see.
Right. Yeah, especially, with these fresh horses to the inside. So, yeah, it looks like we're just about to get going here. He's
Yeah, looks like we're
putting these numbers in the bottle and let's get it going.
done my fair share of that when I worked for the Maryland Jockey Club.
Oh, you did? Oh, cool.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, here
yeah.
we go, guys. This is it.
Never for a race like the Preakness, but
That's awesome, Jessica. All right, here we go. We got
hold on, I have
the
to turn the
screen
volume
is
on.
about to fill up here.
Imagination on the outside in the 9.
All right, interesting.
And Frankie Dettori is going to get his first Preakness
Oh, first Preakness mount. That's amazing.
2.
All right, there's
It's
Uncle
High Rad.
Heavy drew the 2 posts. Yep. That's
Sees the
actually a good
gray in
post.
the 6.
Oh, it's going quick. They didn't mess around.
Yeah, they're going fantastic. We'll have our own little graphic. Mystic Dan gets the 5.
All right, not
Midfield.
terrible. Not
Yeah,
terrible.
no,
Yeah.
you can work out a trip from there, I
Yeah,
think.
it's better than like 8 or 9. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a pretty good post, actually. Yeah.
And I think the 8 here for Tuscan Gold is probably a decent spot for him to kind of stalk.
Yeah, work out a trip there from the outside and stay away from traffic.
You got to on the inside.
Oh, okay. I was interested who's gonna get this one post. All right, so it's this horse. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that makes a whole lot of difference.
Right.
3 is
Let's see.
Catching Freedom.
Pretty good post, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Flavian can kind of point him to the outside this time. We'll see.
Just steal the 7, which leaves
All
Muth
right.
breaking next to the Derby winner.
Very cool. Very cool. So they actually got it done with right away, and
yeah,
the results are in with this. Yep.
Go ahead and pop this up here now.
Yeah. See, look at this, people. We got it live right on the screen here. So great job. And
see if I
yeah, we're going to talk about it, and
bit
let us know what you think in the chat too.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know what you think. Did anybody do well, better than others?
You know, my initial thoughts, there's no real surprises here, like you said. I think that it's kind of you know, imagination to the outside. You know, Frankie's going to have to work out, maybe kind of go a little faster than normal, kind of get positioning that way, but no real big surprises for me here. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I think everyone kind of has a decent spot where they'll be able to work out the kind of trip they want.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of drew, you know, something that they could work with. And, you know, Tuscan Gold, like you said, I mean, Tyler can kind of work out like that stalking trip on the outside, kind of avoid the inside path. I think that's actually a good draw for Tuscan Gold. And yeah, yeah. Yeah, we talked about Mystik Dan trying to get an inside post, you know, to his advantage. I think the 5's actually pretty good. He could work out, you know, kind of take back a little bit. You know, he's got some horses, and Moot's going to show a little early speed, but Catching Freedom is not the greatest breaker. He actually broke pretty good in the Derby. He was closer than I thought, but I don't really think there's any huge surprises here. Yeah, and then we actually have the morning lines out.
Yep, just got those. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
there's your
Great job.
so there's those. Yeah, I don't really think that there's anything that really surprises me too much here. Nothing that makes me say, "Oh, that's not good," or "Oh, that's like perfect." I think it's just gonna be a pretty fairly run race at this point. You're looking at, you know, horse on the inside probably was a horse who wasn't gonna be a real win contender anyway.
Right.
Um, Booth and Mystik Dan breaking next to each other is just kind of fun. I think, yeah, Catching Freedom, Muth, Mystik Dan, that 3-4-5
That's huge.
those are your horses that you're really looking at. And then on the outside with Tuscan Gold and Imagination. And yeah, as Sean says, in a field of 9, nobody really has a terrible post. There's no, oh, you're stuck way out there in the 9. You're fine. Frankie will work out a good trip from there.
Yeah, this isn't like the one
right.
post in the Derby. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he's gonna have to show some speed. I mean, yeah, you got a couple of long shots to the inside there that you know, Uncle Heavy. It's interesting, Jessica, is that, you know, before the Preakness pools closed, I said to myself, you know, 99-1 future pool. I was like, I threw $2 on this horse, and then he ended up Butch Reed actually ended up, oh no, yeah, it was Robert Reed actually ended up bringing him to Baltimore. So you know, horse is a pretty deep closer, and he had a tough post in the Wood Memorial. So, you know, maybe it could be another horse that could kind of pick up the pieces. But, you know, like you said, the 3-4-5, I think the betting public is really going to be focused on those 3 horses.
Yeah, and with good reason. They really seem like the 3 to beat. The question is the turnaround for the 2 coming out of the Derby, and then just whether they're good enough. You know, against Muth. Mystik Dan got beat by Muth already.
That's right.
In Arkansas, so
very important 3rd place there when you think about it now for Mystik Dan, because you know, if he finished 4th, I think he would have had a little trouble getting in the field, and then now we're talking about the Derby winner. So
yeah,
I'm glad he's running though. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to take a look at the past performances. I'm not sure. Hopefully, they'll be coming out shortly. If not, I'm sure that tomorrow we'll have them to really kind of dive in to this field and how they all kind of look on paper together as a unit.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, I don't really see any huge surprises on the morning line odds. I've been
Yeah.
just looking them over. I think that he did a pretty good job, whoever the morning line maker is. I think that it's pretty accurate.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean Tuscan Gold 8-1 morning line. I think this horse is actually gonna get bet down a little bit
Yeah.
from that. Yeah. He's kind of feels
Yeah.
like sort of like the wise guy horse this race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't just ignore Chad Brown bringing this horse into the Preakness fresh.
Yeah,
So I think I agree. That's I mean, I think you'll get around there
right.
because of that 3-4-5 taking a lot of money, and imagination will
That's a little
probably take
low,
a little
that
bit
morning
too.
line, I thought. Yeah, six to
Yeah.
one.
I could
They could
see the two of
probably
them
flip those
swapping.
two. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
but
Nice.
still seems like a pretty
Would have
accurate
flipped them.
morning line overall to me.
Yeah, I mean, Tuscan Gold is unbelievable. I mean, only 3 races lifetime, and, like I was saying before, is raced at this distance already, so, yeah, I think Chad obviously had this in the back of his mind, this path
Mhm.
for this horse, and with Sierra Leone going to the Belmont, so, yeah, I mean, Chad's got a lot of, strong horses right now in his barn, so and Sierra Leone, I mean, as of right now, is probably gonna be the favorite unless somebody really pops up in the Belmont.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it really depends on how the field shapes up, but you'd have to think
Yeah.
that he's sitting as the favorite, and that Louisiana Derby has come back quite good,
Yeah,
considering how Catching Freedom ran. Honor Marie ran really well in the Derby with a difficult trip. Antiquarian, Tuscan Gold beat in that race, who just won the Peter Pan this weekend. So
very
I
good
think
point.
that's a horse that you definitely have to take a long look at in here. The pace
Yeah.
scenario will be interesting. I don't know that there's a whole lot of dedicated speed, although as I said, I'm not as familiar with all of these horses as I was with the Derby horses coming in.
I think it'll be interesting. I think the 9 Imagination is gonna be I mean, I have to really look at it more, but I think
Mhm.
Frankie is gonna probably set in there from the 9, and then, you got a bunch of closers. I mean, you got,
Mhm.
horses that kinda off the pace, like the 2 and the 3. I know the 1 is more of a synthetic horse and, only has 1 career win, so like you said, kind of the long shot on the rail there, so it's gonna be an interesting setup. I mean, from the Preakness, I mean, we saw what Rumbauer came pretty far back, but I can't really recall too many like closers actually winning in the Preakness.
Mhm.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I off the top of my head can't really think of any. I wouldn't be surprised, just taking a look real quick at some of them. CC's the Gray close to the lead coming up
Yeah,
off of that
good point. Yeah.
Pat Day mile where he was pretty close. So yeah, I think Disciple, I am not sure. I cannot tell you with any certainty whether there is going to be a high five in this race. I'm not familiar enough with Pimlico's betting options.
Yeah, I don't know if they offer that in the big race. I think it's going to be probably more the superfecta. That's always a big bet, with the Derby and the Preakness. But yeah, keep an eye on it. Sometimes they come up with these like crazy bets, but I think
Mhm.
on this day they kind of keep it, pretty simple.
Yeah. But yeah, and Sean pointing out Juan Hernandez has not ridden Pimlico very much. So
Okay.
a point to keep in mind. People talk about the tight turns at Pimlico. That's a myth. So when you hear people talking about that, just the turns at Pimlico are not tighter than most
Yeah, I
other
mean it's
tracks.
not like a bull ring, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this
pretty,
isn't Charlestown.
yeah, exactly. You have space to make a trip out and, your horse has got to be good enough, of course, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I'm interested to see where the betting public goes. I mean, I think obviously Muth's going to be the favorite.
Mhm.
And I think Mystic Dan will probably be the second choice. So I think the Morning Lights odd maker got it pretty good. And then Catching Freedom probably be the third choice, but we got to see what happens. I think Tuscan Gold, like you said, is going to take some money and You never know. I mean, Bob Baffert's, yeah, they always say the other Bob, so you never know with
Right.
imagination too.
Yeah, Marv's very curious about imagination if the odds float up, which I think you might get a little bit more in the 8-1 range potentially. So yeah,
Yeah,
Siggy's saying that Rosario's going to rate Just Steel this time. Yeah, I don't think we'll see him going out like he did in the Derby. That
right.
backfired tremendously
Yeah, it
for
was just a
him.
big speed and fade. Yep.
So I think you can kind of just put a line through that Derby effort with Just Steel. I think that if you liked him in the Derby, there's no reason to jump ship. I am not going to use him most likely, but I think that if he's a horse that you were interested in going into the Derby, that I think you can make enough of an excuse for him with that Derby to just say, "No, let's come back. We got 15-1." So, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, this is like the war horse of this class. I mean, it just this horse never even got a break. I mean, he ran in
Right.
every single, prep there was. So I was actually a little surprised. I mean, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that Dwayne Lucas brought him back. I mean, I think this horse is probably in line for like maybe like a year off after this, and then we'll see. I mean, it's a Justify horse, so I mean, there's going to be upside there
Mhm.
eventually. I mean, this horse has picked up so many checks in such huge races, so maybe a horse to at least use underneath, especially if
Yeah.
Rosario is going to rate.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Hi, Christopher. Thanks for coming in.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're so excited to see Mystik Dan coming back in the Preakness,
Yeah.
coming out of the Derby with enough energy that they're willing to wheel back and give this a shot in Maryland. There was a little bit of concern right after the Derby that this race was going to come up light, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think this is a really legitimate field.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was in the beginning with the entries, like I was saying, I was like, this is gonna be like Muth and everybody else kind of running for second, but this has turned out to be a very competitive. I mean, you got multiple Kentucky Derby horses. You got the Kentucky Derby winner, and then you have the Chad Brown horse who's the wild card. And yeah, I mean, you can go a bunch of different ways. You have I was gonna ask you, Jessica, you got a lot of different sires here that actually look good too. I mean, you got Arrogate and Into Mischief and all these. So you got a lot of different pedigree that you probably could tell better than me. So
Yeah, I haven't taken a deep dive into a lot of them, but I will be doing that tomorrow for my
oh,
my
cool.
pedigree puzzle that I'll be doing on the Derby,
Nice.
which will be both pedigree and just straightforward handicapping. Anthony says 3, 6, or 8 will win. So he's got Seize the Gray as a win contender, which I it's a horse that would not shock me. He would be a surprise, but he wouldn't be, oh wow, how did this horse win?
Yeah, I mean the Pat Day Mile, he was actually close to the pace. I was surprised if
Mhm.
I couldn't see it live, but I remember I was checking my horse playing account. I was like, wow, how did I get all this money? So yeah, I mean, he was close to the pace and they just had another gear at the end. So you got a nice trip. Got to see, running back in a couple weeks is always kind of a little bit of a concern for me, but no, I agree. I think the horse, whoever somebody said it in the chat, is going to show speed too. So be really right
Mhm.
there. I think with imagination too.
Yeah, I think he's one that they might, instead of just steal, D-Wayne might kind of see if we can kind of repeat that magic with Seize the
Right.
Grey, getting that trip sitting to just inside of imagination, possibly. Maybe just going for the lead. I don't know about that, but I think he will be close again. And I do agree with Anthony that I think the distance will not be any issue. So uh, and Christopher saying, Muth hard to envision not being in the money, but is a beatable favorite. And I think that's the way both of us feel
Yeah.
as well. He's the horse to beat, but there's definitely ways you can imagine that happening.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that, this is a very talented horse, but he's also hasn't raced in what, 2.5 months. So it's something that maybe there's these other 3-year-olds that kind of got a step ahead of him now. I mean, I know that Muth has been impressive and, impressive last race there, obviously, in the Arkansas Derby. But I don't know. I mean, if you're going to make money, like I was saying, I don't know if I'm going to take him on top. I got to really think about Catching Freedom. I gotta kind of sleep on this for a night or two, but
Right.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be an interesting race.
Yeah. DJ likes Tuscan Gold, who we've definitely talked about. Andy pointing out that Seize the Gray did not run well off of 2 weeks rest when they ran him
Mm,
back as a 2-year-old, I believe that was in the Skidmore.
good
He
point.
finished third as the favorite, beaten 2 3/4 lengths by Ship Cadet and El Grandeo. So it was not his best race, certainly off of that. Although he did bump out of the gate and kind of had uh, some issues in that race. So you could make excuses for that effort if you're trying to make a case for Seize the Gray. In here, Andy thinks that
Yeah,
he's a miler and they should have rested for
right.
the mile, which, hey, it's Dwayne. They're going to take a shot. It's
Yeah, it's a
Dwayne, and
classic race.
importantly, it's also my racehorse.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, my racehorse and the classic race. No, I agree with you. I think the mile's the preferred distance. Obviously, you just won the big stakes race at the mile, so we'll see if the horse can get the distance. And like you said, Jessica, if he can be up close, kind of stalking inside, it could be very up close though. You never know. Sometimes speed can kind of carry on these big stakes days too.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, yep, I think take a look here at what everyone else
Yeah.
has to say. Yep, Derby horse is often running well in the Preakness, and I do agree. I think Catching Freedom coming back in here, both of us are very interested in that horse making that move in this race.
Very interested. Yeah, this is only sixth career start for Catching Freedom. So it's something that maybe they had in the back of their mind. So I'm interested to see how he runs. I really didn't expect this, but now 6-1 morning line. If I think he's gonna get bet down a little bit from that.
Hmm. Christopher would love to see Frankie Dettori win a Triple Crown race, which, yeah, nah, that
Oh.
that would be fun to see. Not sure how often he's doing the flying dismounts nowadays, but I feel like he'd have to pull it out for if he won the Preakness, right?
Yeah, he did one. He did the flying dismount at Churchill recently. He won on a horse, so that was cool to see. But yeah, I mean, Frankie was supposed to retire last year, so that would be amazing if that happened.
Right. Yeah, if it rains, well, you got to upgrade Mystik Dan, right?
Good point. Yeah, I didn't even look at the weather, and
I haven't
y-
looked yet either.
yeah, I mean, there was some moisture still on that track. What was it listed on Kentucky Derby Day? I think it was at least good, right?
It was fast
Yeah, it was
by
fast.
post time on the
Yeah,
the Derby, so he didn't need the sloppy track, but I still don't think it would have hurt him if it had stayed a
for
little wet
sure.
for him.
Yeah,
We're then asking about the Derby horses coming back on short rest, and Derby horses tend to run well in the Preakness because you have a horse that is in form. You have a horse that is feeling good. You have a horse that you've prepped for this race, and you haven't had time for that horse to tail off yet. So that's
right,
why a lot of times this 2 week turnaround actually works out for horses because you don't have to do a whole lot with them. You just got to keep them happy for these
right.
2 weeks and hope that you have the same horse you had on Derby Day. So yeah, looks
Good
like rain
point.
is in the forecast. Andy pointing out the Seize the Gray ran on slop last summer at
Yeah.
Saratoga. And yeah, that was his maiden win where he beat Dornoch. So along with Drumroll Please, who came back to do some good on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, sees the gray. I was saying in the chat is that it's always embedded in my mind that Caesar Gray was like 22-1 in the Kentucky Derby pool at one time. So I think this people kind of took notice of this horse and then, had a couple of subpar efforts, but could be really rounding into form. Yeah, the son of Arrogate.
Yeah. Chuck says nobody can go head to head with Muth up front. He's lone speed. He's the winner. And yeah, I'm not sure that anybody else really does want a piece of him. You could end up with a national treasure type trip
Right.
potentially for him.
Yeah.
So,
Juan
but
might just gun to the lead at that point. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Ed's got 20-1 on Muth in the
Oh,
Preakness
good
futures
luck,
pool.
Flathead.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of price you want for sure. On a horse like this, you can't complain about that.
That's great value right there. Good luck, and yeah, it's gonna be the morning line, the actually post time favorite too. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that is
Cool.
the Preakness field, and we'll be back all week with tons of content coming out. What do you have coming out this week, Keith?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jessica. Yeah, I'm having a Keats Cash Play show. I'm gonna record this week and drop that. I gotta look at the PPs. We had a very successful Kentucky Derby. We turned $24 into 62.90. So we had Seize the Gray actually on the Pat Day Mile. So yeah, we look for the value play horses, and then I kind of do analysis of the big race. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And I know Jessica, you're gonna be dropping some content too.
Yep. Yeah. Either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll have my pedigree puzzle come out, which
Awesome.
is not just pedigree, but also handicapping, but with a focus on taking a look at what kind of pedigrees can get you a Preakness horse, you know? So that'll be fun. And I know everybody else on the channel has lots of stuff coming out. So make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss any of that. And thank you all so much
Appreciate it. Thank you.
for watching. And until next time, see y'all.